Welcome to Unveiled Radiance, podcast to help you strip away fear of aging. Hello, I'm Dr. Natalia, licensed naturopathic physician, aesthetic expert injector, and owner of Bloom Skincare. In each episode, we will discuss everything about skincare, strip away confusion about aesthetic medicine, and help you deeply understand what happens in your body as you start aging. We will invite expert opinion and, of course, science-backed information to help you deeply understand you. This podcast is part of educational platform called Unveiled You, which I designed for women just like you to help you understand everything, not just about your skin, which is your largest body's organ, but everything that's happened to your body from puberty all the way through past menopause, and enjoy and embrace every stage of that beautiful life. Let's get started. I am Natalia Borokovsky, and welcome to Unveiled Radiance. Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Unveiled Radiance. Thank you for tuning in. And today's episode is all about beauty. I have a wonderful Stephanie. This is beautiful, artistic, interesting woman, and she is a makeup artist. And I'm so excited to have this conversation today with all of you because let's face it, the fastest boost of confidence you can ever get, it's by using makeup correctly. That's an easiest upgrade. So we all gonna talk about tips and tricks of what we can do as we age, what kind of glow up we can afford to do, how to avoid the mistakes. And Stephanie gonna tell us all about this. But before we get into this whole nitty gritty things, I want you to introduce yourself, Stephanie. Let's talk about your background because you're not just some random makeup artist that got trained besides Lancome counter, right? A lot of us came from that kind of background. I actually came out working behind a Chanel counter, but it's not the education you have. You're much deeper than this, right? You actually have an art degree. So tell us about this.
Well, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. Where do I start with this? Because there's so much to the story. But I started my career, it was over 20 years ago in London. And this was after having done a degree in fine art and realizing that I didn't want to conform and just have an office job that was going to be able to feed my artist career. I was like, this isn't for me. Working in an office, to put it kindly, was soul sucking for me. I was trying to find a different way of wording it, but it really was. I really felt like I lost myself in the time that I worked for the BBC in office, which was my longest office job of a couple years. That says a lot. And the reason I stayed so long was so that I could afford to go to makeup school. I found makeup through that job as well, working at the BBC. I had an incredible lifetime opportunity of assisting on a BBC drama with big actors. And I realized really fast that that was just another office job doing TV and film. The continuity and all these other pieces were the opposite to how I functioned. I liked the transitions and the changes and being able to do things fast and see the results. With TV and film, you have to wait months before you actually get to see the results, and they don't shoot it at the same times in order and sequence. So you have to go back to looks and redo things. And it was just not for me. So I ended up in fashion and advertising and music, a lot of beauty. I loved doing beauty. Makeup for me was a medium always. It was never because I loved makeup, I decided to become a makeup artist. I tried a class in the program that we were teaching teens behind the scenes of the BBC, and that they could have creative careers out there that did not mean they had to be in front of camera. So makeup was one of those, and that's when I fell in love. And I was like, I get to travel. I get to work with different people. I get to have fun and be creative with it. And I really did. I've worked on some awesome big magazines from Vogue to Marie Claire and Glamour and big celebrities. And it's always been something different. It's always been an experience. And that's the fun in it for me.
Such an incredible career. I'm so excited for you. A little jealous, but it's fantastic. Like to be in part of this world of glamour. And now we have you here to take some gems and to share with common audience, right? Our audience of women over 40. So let's talk about it. What changes in the makeup? What we should look for as we start to age? Obviously, you should really apply your eyeshadows and your blush the same way as you did in your 20s, correct?
I hear that a lot. I have a lot of customers for consultations reach out to me because they never learned how to do makeup or they're still doing it the same way they did as teenagers. And I think at the end of the day, I'm someone that never says a color doesn't suit someone because there's so many different tones in a color. So if there's a color that is like, oh my gosh, I love this color and things have changed and you want to tone it down, there's tones that have that bluer tone or that purple tone, and they're not super brash and in your face. So you can still feel confident when you wear a color that makes you feel good. It's very much about the technique. It's very much about the care for our faces and skin. I always say makeup starts with skin. So if you're taking care of your skin, your makeup's going to sit well on your skin. As we age, we lose hydration in our face, our skin all over our body, not just our face. And the key is to make sure that you stay hydrated inside and outside. We lose the collagen and the elasticity. So it's about nourishing that with techniques or tools, other aesthetics that you choose. But really, the makeup that sits on top of that is going to feel good if you are taking care of your skin, if you know when it's time to exfoliate, if you know that actually, oh, my eyebrows are my best feature and I haven't plucked them yet, so I need to go and do that. It's like these little things that enhance what we already love about ourselves. And that's really the message that I want women to think of as we change. That's still your favorite feature. Like if we look at it that way instead of what we want to change about ourselves, makeup's going to sit differently. We want to lift everything up always. Cheeks need to be put higher and complementary because when we bring it too far down, it's going to drag the face down. You still want to highlight and leave the center of the face lit up. I mean, you can see it. Our faces light from the center because they're forward, and then the shadow comes here. So many women come to me and want to do the contouring, which I get it. It's there. It's a thing. But do you do it in a way that's subtle and buildable? Because it's really all about the layers and the technique, starting where you want the darkest shadow and drawing it out gently with a brush or your finger if it's a cream, using cream products. All of these things are very simple ways of altering what you already do and what you already like. And if it's like a full refresh, you want to change everything and start over and you don't know where to begin, that takes a little more time because it's also about minimizing. It's not going to Sephora and buying every product under the sun, getting it home, and then not knowing what to do with it, because that happens a lot too, as we know. Like, beauty industry is $1 billion business. That's for a reason. Our confidence stems from what we get sold and how things are sold to us. So start with less, have fun, play with it. It's a form of expression. So those are the ground points that can fit all faces and 40 and up, and ways without seeing someone's face of enhancing. Focus on what your favorite feature is.
You touched on so many wonderful points. So let me just kind of like piece it, every little gem, and expand on it because you said so many wonderful things. First, the skincare. So we're going to zoom in onto that. Then we're going to talk about how not to get overwhelmed when you are, we'll say, end up in Sephora and you're getting a makeover and there's a million products in front of you. How to really piece it out and find which part of those elements in makeup are most important ones and which ones you probably should skip, how to simplify that. And then we'll talk about the texture, the changes in the skin happens as we age because
recognizing those changes will help you to pivot in your makeup and your skincare routine. So then again, the canvas looks the most beautiful. So let's start with skincare, because I know you have a very interesting story, because you had your own skincare product, which unfortunately got pulled back. You're no longer doing that because I know life goes along, you get busy, you just move to a different state, lots of things happen. But what's so interesting about your story, because it came from the ritual, it came from your family ties. So tell us about this.
So I started a brand called Uli's Ointment almost 10 years ago now, and I closed it in February, which is a whole other story. But the reason I started Uli's is because as a makeup artist, I needed something in my kit that I could use for everything, from lip balm to highlight to brows to when the hairstylist burns the model's forehead, like all these little moments that actually happen. And I also wanted to tie it into my heritage. My family's Greek. And at the time, my grandmother was sick. So the purpose behind it for me was really to continue that. At the same time, I was pregnant with my son. So I was like, all these changes are happening. My grandmother was my biggest tie to the island. I spent years on the island with her and then summers after we left Greece. And I wanted the benefits of natural ingredients, that the way she used them with simplicity, to be able to benefit my customers. And I saw a real need for it because everything on the market that we were using in our kits was petroleum based. Petroleum, it comes from the car industry. That's how it was discovered. And then it got implemented into beauty products. So I was like, it needs to be something that's breathable, which beeswax and olive oil are. Together, they create a really beautiful layer on the skin that protects, so it acts as a barrier balm too. And the reason was I could use it for everything. Mothers could use it for everything, including their children. It was very softly scented and herbaceous. And it survived 9 years. So that says a lot. And I still have customers reaching out nowadays asking, any chance, any chance you'll sell it again?
Yes, yes.
So those cogs are turning, but it takes me straight back to the simplicity and how when you have something that works well, you can use it in different ways.
Yes, and I think that says a lot. And then the same thing that we can tell about makeup, it's great to have products that could be multi-use products, right? And I would love for you to share some tips and tricks like this. What kind of product do you think the woman who is starting to age, see that changes in the skin? Obviously, using a lubricant ointment is wonderful because it's going to help to hide that dryness, that creepy texture, because that product sits on top, especially being natural. It's not going to cause any kind of skin reactions. But then, speaking of actual makeup, things like concealers, eyeshadow base, do we have those multi-use products that we can also utilize for many different functions?
So shortcuts with multi-use products are great. First of all, because you're more likely to use your products in my experience. So if you have a lip cheek combo, you can also apply it to your eyelids to give yourself a little pop before you run out the door in the morning when you only have 10 minutes. It's going to just enhance the natural color that is on your eyelids. Another great option is having a concealer. I recommend concealers that match your skin color. So something that is a neutral tone, not too pale, which is contrary to what we were all taught, where if it's lighter, then it highlights more. But really, it's highlighting only in a certain area. And then that means you're going to do concealer, then you're going to do foundation, then you end up in for longer doing a full face. But if you want to get out the door quickly and easily, having a multi-use product like a concealer that can double as a foundation, and actually some brands are coming out with these now, where the concealer, my trick is always doing it in a triangular way, not bringing it full to the lash line so it doesn't get all creasy, is a huge tip. But if you're doing it in a triangular way and it matches your skin color and you're not trying to cover everything or don't need to, you can blend it out with your lotion or your balm and it'll sheer out but cover where needed. So you're not having to do multiple steps and it can work as both things. Those are two really great things. Another little tip, we all can be in a rush applying our mascara. Makeup is makeup at the end of the day. We're told lipstick goes here and cheek goes here and everything else. When you get your mascara on your eyelid and you're having a hard time cleaning it up, you can always use a very fine brush to blend it out and it will give you an eyeliner effect. Just make sure you do it on both sides. So there's these little ways of tweaking makeup and being able to use it in multiple ways. And I have had customers that use their eyeshadows in browns for their brows as well to fill in. So makeup is makeup. And if you start seeing it that way and not thinking that you need a different product for every aspect, it really minimizes your time and effort that you need to apply your makeup, and you walk out the door just zhuzhing those favorite features.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic advice because first it saves you time, it saves you money, and then you're more likely repeat that routine every day. And I think also important what I think I'm getting from what you're recommending, because you're always referring to a more of a creamier products. It's important to talk to women as we age, our skin texture changes, right? So our skin gets drier, our pores get smaller. We have those fine lines. So if you love using powder-based products, like, powdered eyeshadows, powder overall, the compact powder, we used to use those in the 90s. And if you now apply it to your skin, you're more likely to start looking more dull and then more aged because you enhancing that skin texture. So it goes from starting the foundation of skincare, again, knowing when to exfoliate, right? Because when your skin is appearing more dry and starting to be more flaky, it's certainly time to exfoliate. But then nourishing on top with something lubricating, creamy, your favorite product, whatever works for you, just make sure you use it every day. And then following up with creamier products, but kind of staying away from that overall coverage of foundation, right? Would you ever recommend a woman over 40 to use full coverage foundation?
That comes down to the self expression piece. So if someone feels more comfortable using a full coverage foundation, which I have had clients prefer, we work it so it looks natural. If you're comfortable with a full coverage foundation, it means, in my experience, there's something you're trying to hide. There's something that you're trying to mask. And it's really about, okay, how can we use this so that your natural skin comes through still? Because I feel like even with a full coverage foundation, there is an element of self-consciousness that comes through when you're wearing it, because you're thinking of your face. Oh, I have to go to the bathroom to check that I don't have this, or that something's sitting right, or that my lipstick didn't smear, whatever it is. So I kind of start with like, okay, well, why are we wearing it? What's the intent here? And once I understand that, it's easier for me to direct how it can be applied in a way where it isn't a mask. And generally with the full coverage foundation, it's because it ends here, and then you
Yeah.
can see the line because it's thicker. Well, how do we eliminate that? If you do want to wear a full coverage foundation, it's about layering it. It's not about grabbing a ton, shoving it all over, and then just blending it to a certain point. It's about starting a little bit at a time. So it's going to take a little longer, but you're going to look real. In photos, you're going to look real when you're out in the world. You're going to feel like your makeup sits longer and better as well. So it's not so much if you prefer it, go for it. But I recommend ones that blend easily, that can still give you a mattifying effect and feel like skin. So that's my recommendation for full coverage.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a great advice. And then to me, I would still probably say that for women who are starting to age, who have more texture on their face, using really heavy foundations often accentuate that texture. So usually it's not something that's going to look really good. And a lot of times, really heavy foundation, I've seen it on camera and on photos, having more so that weird light reflection. So then the face looks like a ghosty mask. And it's also not the look we're going for. So like even the topic of our conversation is being seen. So you want to still have that friendly, radiant human face instead of being the filtered mask. So that brings me kind of like to the next topic. Tell me, what is the most ridiculous things you've seen on social media, sort of like a myth busting things about makeup that you just would love to share with our audience? Like, ladies, please don't do that.
Oh, there have been so many.
Pick your pick your favorite, Stephanie. Pick your favorite.
There is one that I had seen where people were using spoons to get a good line for here. And I'm like, there are so many more tools. You could even find a YouTube video of someone doing it in a way that is so much easier to follow than getting a spoon, holding it on your eye when it's already an awkward position and trying to draw the line. Crazy. There's also on topic with the full coverage, it's the pouring the liquid foundations onto the face and
Oh,
then
I've seen that.
using a sponge to blend it out where it just ends up like you've just used half a bottle of your probably expensive foundation and you do not look better than you did if
Yes,
you would just
yes.
walk out without it. What are some of the other ones? I feel like a lot of the time there's a repurposing of looks, well, mostly on TikTok, but Hailey Bieber's looks, and they had different names like the glazed donut or the strawberry. And it's like, these are looks that have been around for such a long time and they're not new. I mean, we have two eyes, a nose, a mouth, and cheeks, like this is what we're working with here. So you only have so many different ways of doing it. How can we do it in a way that's fun? Well, they just give it a different name. So, the strawberry is just like a really rosy post sun, which is fun for the summer. Having your blush a little bit higher up and spread. So as if you've just received a lot of sun, you've been outside and you have a sun-kissed look. But the names get me. Everyone's like, oh, is that like the glazed donut? And I'm like, kind of, yeah. It's like glossy skin.
Yes, yes. Oh yeah, don't get me started. I think one trend, and that was a few years ago, and hopefully everybody forgot about it, but I have to talk about this because we're talking about the sun-kissed face. There was a trend of applying your sunscreen specifically, so then you have a sunburn and tan, which gives you the natural highlight and contour. That absolutely blew my mind because me being a skincare doctor, I'm like, hello, skin cancer? Like, okay, besides the skin cancer, I get it. If you are in your 20s and you think you're indestructible, you'll never get cancer. I've also been there. I remember when I was in my 20s, I thought I'll live forever and I'll never age. But the number one reason why our skin ages and we get wrinkles is sun damage. With the UV radiation, your skin literally gets DNA damage. It destroys your DNA. So to really go there and give yourself a natural contour and to use a sunburn to give you that natural, that's probably the worst thing I've ever seen on social media. It got me so angry. And I hope everybody forgot about it. We'll never use it again.
I didn't even see that. I didn't even
You
see that.
didn't? Yeah,
No.
it used to be a thing. I think it was like a couple years ago. It was all over TikTok, and a lot of young girls were doing it. How to apply sun protection, like really high SPF on the higher parts of the cheeks where you want a highlight, and then obviously lets the rest of your face burn. And yeah, crazy,
It gives you a line or a funny
right?
edge. But also that takes me to the period mask. Did you see that? Where they would
Yes.
use period blood for masks? I'm
Oh
like,
my gosh.
what are we doing? Is that what the world has come to now, where this is the only way we can get creative? I
Yeah.
don't get it.
Yeah.
Not my
Yeah.
jam.
There's some crazy, wild ideas. So, my advice, I think, to all of this, if it sounds too crazy or too good to be true, it's probably a bad idea. Or when you're in doubt, then consult a professional. Stephanie's there for a reason. I mean, talk to people who actually have an education and common sense to tell you what you should do to your skin, right?
And let's be real, like all of these things, if you haven't heard of them before, they're not going to be around much longer because the
Very
things
true.
that work are around for longer because they work. So there's
Hmm.
that.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. I'm really curious to talk to you about the color theory because I hear it from the makeup artists too when they say, certain colors complement this type of skin and certain colors complement the other type of skin. Would you recommend every woman to essentially do her color match to really know what colors work good for her and what colors don't?
If you have no idea, then yes. I don't think it's a negative way of looking at things. I know it can range from your styling, like clothes and makeup as well. For makeup, I do usually recommend women wear colors that suit them, that bring out their best colors. And if you don't want to go and do a color theory, there are little ways with the color that's already on your skin, in your fingertips, where you can match what you're pulling out. Our lips already have color in them. So we're just looking, if you're looking for something natural, to enhance the color that's already there. So following the colors that are already presenting on your face, if you have redness or rosacea, that we're talking about inflammation there. So it's different, but I'm talking about your natural cheek color, your natural lip color. They mimic the colors in your fingertip. Brown eyes have a certain tone and palette that they can use, but they're the most versatile compared to blue ears. But it's a difference between cool and warm tones. And that applies to your foundations. They all have a cool, a neutral, or a warm. And that will usually be the opposite to your skin color or your eye color. So if you have a warmer eye color, like say a darker blue gray kind of color, then you're going to use cooler colors to accent that. So it's kind of like an inverse of what you already do.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think even for brown color eyes, because it's a common color, like the most common color is a brown color. But a lot of people don't realize that their shade of brown is very unique. Like I can say from our own example, my mother has a brown color eyes, I have brown color eyes, and so is my husband. And if you get curious, and I'm really like encouraging every woman who listens to get curious and to really stare at your own eyes and think, what are background shades of there? Even if you're not artist, but just think about it. Like when I stared at my husband's eyes, he had like a blue outline around his brown eyes. And they're a little bit more kind of like a charcoal brown. They're really cool brown. Mine is just like the traditional chocolate. And then my mom, I call it the tiger eyes. She has that wild yellow cat kind of eyes. I wish I had it. I actually was thinking about getting color lenses to get that wild golden specks in it. But you think about it, they all brown, but her colors are definitely warm. It's a full kind of golden brown color. And my husband, it's almost gray. It's just fascinating. So try to put them in the same category, it will be very silly. So I think the color theory is fascinating and it's not necessarily rigid rules, but it just makes you think about it like makeup, it's fun. You should play with it like a child with a palette of colors and crayons and then see what you can color on your face. And then if you ladies who is listening completely clueless what in the world we're talking about, then I just encourage you to at least go to a makeup counter and find a girl who has at least 2 cents of understanding what makeup is and ask her about color theory. Do that color play and match, try different shades, and then see what lights you up, like really emotionally and visually,
I
right?
would also say, usually I had this at Mac when I worked there. I'd have moms come to me with their girls and be like, go to her. She wears less makeup.
Yes,
If you find the girl with the least amount of makeup on, good luck with that at a counter nowadays. But if
yes,
you
yes.
find her, go to her because she will know how to do it well. You can always go by the face to tell you what their style is going to be for sure.
Yes, yes. And that brings us to a very important point. If anybody get at least anything out of this conversation, the important message is less is more. And truly, the most difficult makeup is that no makeup look. So if you master that, when you just ultimately look like yourself, then trust me, you're going to look best at any age.
Totally. I
Yeah.
100% agree.
All right. Well, as we're wrapping it up, I think it's been a wonderful conversation. We laughed. We did all kinds of fun myth busting activities. Tell us about your newest project. Because I know when you and I chatted, you're like, you know what? I love makeup. This is all great. But now I'm pivoting to something new. So, Stephanie, she's an incredible woman. She's an entrepreneur. Like she said, she tried corporate life for two some years. And thank you, never. I'm just going to do my thing. So now she's using her artistic ability to help to build websites. So tell us about this new adventure.
Yes. So I guess the common thread through it all is how we see ourselves, how we want to be seen. And I feel like helping a lot of female founders shine from the inside, not only as a makeup artist, like I've done for so many years, and now 10 years later, having run an e-commerce business, I have a lot of practical insight into what works with websites, what sells, what brings people in, how to communicate to that person, what you need to go through to be able to communicate to them, and how your story impacts these people looking for your product, your offer, whatever it is that you sell. That has to be shared. I guess it's hard for us to talk about ourselves. So with that in mind, it's hard for a founder to type out on their own what it means that they do and how they do it and what makes them so great, because it's hard for us to talk about what makes us great. So it's really unpacking that and being able to help female founders shine online in such a digital world and stand out for their gifts in person and on their websites.
Yeah. And as much as it feels like those two different avenues of your life or your business entrepreneurships are so disconnected, but yet they're so connected. To me, I completely see the connection there because first, you're helping women to feel more confident because obviously when we feel more attractive, we are unstoppable powerhouse. And the
Yep.
makeup, as we said in the beginning of this episode, is the fastest way of making you feel more empowered. It's the fastest shift you can create with your external appearance. So using those tools correctly will certainly help you to shine brighter. And then also wrapping up your message in a beautiful website, it's the same way. You're expressing your words through colors, you're expressing it through pictures, and yet obviously knowing how to articulate your message and then sounding the most authentic and impactful is extremely important.
Yeah. Yeah. It's
All
fun.
right, tell us how people can find you.
I'm on Instagram and YouTube. It's at Scene with Stephanie, SEEN with Stephanie. And then my website is stephanieg-m.com. And you can see my offerings or schedule a 15-minute chat, and we can just see if there's a way that I can support you, whether it's in beauty or business.
That sounds fantastic. And we obviously going to drop all those links below the episode. So it's all in the description. So check her out. It was such a wonderful conversation. Thank you for joining us today, Stephanie. And we'll talk to you soon.
Sounds good.
All right. Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for joining me on Unveiled Radiance. If this episode resonates with you, please share with someone you love, with another woman who might need to hear this information. And for full experience, head to unveilyou.life, where we share everything about skin, hormones, and even self-confidence. Until the next time, thank you for joining me, and please take care of yourself from inside and out.